Hello again, college football fans. Here we are, week 12, and this is your SEC Power Rankings. Number 14, Vanderbilt. No arguments with anybody here, I'm sure. Number 13, Florida. Definitely still the biggest disappointment in the nation. I don't know if I've ever seen a clearer example of a team that's quit on their head coach and their university than these guys at Florida. Maybe the Auburn 2012 squad, Gene Chiswick's last year. Early in the season, I alluded to the fact that LSU and the Orgeron situation could turn into something resembling that 2012 Auburn squad. No one ever at that time had any designs on Florida fitting that description, but that's exactly what happened. And I mean, with the Auburn team in 2012, they won the championship undefeated in 2010, had an extremely disappointing season in 2011, but they did manage to win, I think, 7 games that year, so it wasn't a total disaster. The disaster came the year after that, so we had a little bit of a buffer time in between those extreme seasons that they had where you could kind of see where they were headed. But Florida goes from, having one of the best offenses ever in the SEC, coming just short of winning the SEC championship against an all-timer of an Alabama team, and then now this is what has happened. So they've definitely quit. At the beginning of the season, you could say that they were a team. They were people that had a common goal, and they were all trying to achieve those goals, as a corporate entity. Now, you just got a bunch of guys wearing the same clothes. That's all that Mullen has down there in Gainesville right now. It's unfortunate to see. I feel bad for Mullen. I know he's kind of a guy that people love to hate in this conference. He's not an Alabama guy, so I couldn't really care less about what happens to him. But I can't help but feel a little bit bad for the guy. I mean, I've never seen a coach with a pedigree like his at a place with a pedigree like Florida, coming off a very good, productive season, having this happen. I mean, this just kind of come out of nowhere. But we'll talk more about that as the season moves on. I have a few theories that I might try to unload on you guys as we move on. Number 12, LSU. I mean, did you ever in a million years think that towards the end of the season, by week 12, that you're, in the bottom 3, you would find Florida and LSU? But that's what's happened here. And there's no, I debated on whether or not, am I just being too hard on these schools because, they're not living up to the name that they have, and am I giving, South Carolina and Missouri a pass, putting them ahead of them? But no, I think South Carolina and Missouri have better resumes than both of these teams. They've met closer to the expectations that they had going for them, and their resumes are every bit as good, if not better. And I mean, South Carolina's got a head-to-head win over Florida. So Florida and LSU in the bottom 3 is a surprise, but it's just where they have to be based on what they've done this season. And I don't think it's going to get much better. I mean, we'll discuss. Florida still has a chance to go to a bowl, but it's going to take them beating another SEC team or an improving Florida State team. And I don't know if they've got if they still have enough cohesion among those guys down there to do that. But there you have it. You've got LSU and Florida just bottom dwelling this year. Number 11, South Carolina. Since they suffered that loss to Missouri, and Missouri and South Carolina both have pretty much identical looking records and resumes, I'm going to give the head-to-head to Missouri and put them in there at number 10. A few weeks back, I never thought that they would have been able to muster up much attention from anybody, but here they are, and they're in a position to go to a bowl. And obviously, we'll talk more about their matchup with Florida in the predictions video. Number 9, I have Tennessee. The number 9 and 8 spot, I debated flip-flopping this, but because of Tennessee's resume, I'm going to leave them at 9, and at 8, I've got Auburn, because Auburn does have a really good win over Ole Miss. That's better than any win Tennessee has. And Auburn certainly doesn't have any worse losses. I mean, Tennessee lost to a pretty good Pittsburgh team in the ACC, but they They also struggled early in the season against, Florida beat them. And that's enough at this point right now to keep them below Auburn, who suddenly, have become, I don't want to say a disappointment. Blowing a 25-point lead is very disappointing, but I don't want to say that Auburn's season is a disappointment just yet. If they go 500, if they go 500 in the next two games, then it'll be kind of just depending on what your perspective is as an Auburn fan as to whether or not you consider this a good first year for Harsin or not. But right now they're kind of in limbo, especially coming off two pretty dismal performances for Auburn. But number 8, right smack dab in the middle, is where I have them right now. Number 7, I have Arkansas. Now, Arkansas's resume is just a little bit better looking than Auburn, and Auburn has the head-to-head over Arkansas, but Arkansas's got wins over Texas. They got wins over Texas A&M. They looked good. Their defense looked good anyway against LSU last week, and that was a gutsy victory over an LSU squad that's really got nothing to lose and is playing like it. So, 9, 8, 7, you could shuffle those around if you want, but I feel like I've got them where they need to be right now. Number 6, Kentucky, who, went from, they're having a very, very typical good season for Kentucky, which is start off stacking up a bunch of wins. You get people's curiosity piqued a little bit. Is this Kentucky team that's gonna get over the hump this year and do some things that we never see them do? Well, no, they didn't do that. But they won every game that they're supposed to win, and probably one or two that they, would have been forgiven for losing. But number 6 is where I've got them right now. Number 5, Texas A&M, who was really teetering and trying to pull out what would have been a good season out of a complete disaster that was brewing early in the season for them. They've still got the win over Alabama, which can never be taken away from them. That's huge. It's probably the biggest win anybody's had in the SEC this year. But they're still at number 5 because there's just too many good things happening above them. I mean, number 4, Mississippi State. They have the head-to-head over Texas A&M. Their overall record, the league record is as good, but the overall record's a little bit worse. But since they have the head-to-head over Texas A&M and a very impressive victory over Auburn at home, I think number 4 is exactly where they belong. And number 3, I have your Ole Miss Rebels. Huge win for them last week. That's the best performance, or maybe not the best performance, but it's the best win that they have on their resume. And it's a pretty good one at this point, considering that the Aggies are definitely going to go to a bowl game, a decent bowl game, nothing, Music City or below. Number 2 and number 1, for a long time, Georgia was definitely, in my mind, the clear-cut number 1 team. But I think when you start looking at the records and the schedules for these two teams, Alabama has gone through an absolute just cauldron, which is the SEC West. I mean, the SEC West is really, really stout this year. This is as stout as I've seen this league probably since the early Saban days, back when Petrino was at Arkansas and Les Miles at LSU and all that was going on, and you had Auburn winning national championships and things like that. This is as stout of a SEC West as we've had, and Bama has navigated it pretty well with just the one loss, which was a walk-off field goal. But I've still got them at number 2 because they still have that blemish, and Georgia doesn't. But they do have the benefit of a very squishy, soft SEC East that they've rolled through, and they should have rolled through them. I thought that Auburn was definitely a win that they could hang their hat on, but that's not carrying the same weight that it did a couple of weeks ago. Clemson, they barely got past a Clemson team that is struggling to get through their ACC schedule. So Georgia's still getting the clear-cut favorite treatment, But you know, I'm certainly a Bama homer, so comes as no surprise to you Georgia fans, I'm sure. But I still just don't see the slam dunk that Georgia is over Bama at this point. Now, I know Bama's still got a little bit of work to do to even get a chance to play Georgia, but you know, hopefully they'll be able to get past at least one of the next two teams that they have, so that we will be able to see that, because that will be a test, an ultimate test of my my theory about defense and the new era of college football that we are in right now, and offenses winning championships. So that's your SEC power rankings for Week 12. I'm going to be working on the predictions video real hard here in the next little bit, and we'll try to get that out to you as soon as possible. But once again, thank you for watching.